here we go. So, this is another episode of the Uncivilized Art Podcast. I'm your host, Bimi Hazan, but I go by Bandit Haze in the online space. And today, my guest, Celeste Orchid, back again. We're about to talk Cyberpunk Edgerunners, the Netflix series.
Not Cyberpunk the game.
Yeah. Well, maybe a little bit about the game, but yeah, mostly about Edgerunners. We're going to get into all kinds of spoilers and stuff like that a bit later on. Talk about it in as much detail as we could muster. But before all that, Celeste, how you been?
Hello. Hi,
What you been
everyone.
doing?
Oh, well, it's basically just baby and every once in a while YouTube or Netflix. So I've been pretty lucky every once in a while. Woo, yay. But mainly just baby and living, trying to.
That's right. Yeah, because your baby just said is almost a year, right? So that's
Right.
almost a year now of you being a mother, being
Oh my
a
gosh. Don't
whole
even.
yeah.
Like, this will be my first Mother's Day as a real mother, not one of those, like, I have fur babies, like, yay. Like, yeah, I have fur babies and a human baby. Like, oh my
That's a
gosh.
double
I
Mother's
get to
Day then,
really
right?
celebrate Mother's Day at that point. It's crazy.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Hopefully I sound okay, but I'm a bit subconscious. Is that the words? Subconscious? I think that's the word.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, like
I'm
you're
using
self-conscious of yourself or something. Like,
yeah,
you okay?
because I'm using different headphones. Usually I have the overheads,
Yeah.
but they ended up breaking, so I'm using these in ears. And the thing about
Mhm.
in ear earbuds is when you have them in your ears, your voice sounds weird. And like my voice sounds weird to me in my when I'm hearing myself, and I don't know if I'm subconsciously changing my voice or not. So I hope I sound okay.
No, you sound normal.
Hope,
Like, you don't
okay,
sound
cool.
any different than I'm used to.
Awesome. That's good. Then that's good. But yeah, these are okay. I like these earbuds. They're pretty comfortable in my ears, but I don't know. I do feel the need to keep fiddling with them, even though they don't really need to be fiddled with. I guess it's just the whole thing of being in your ear rather than over your ear. It just feels different. Um, but
Hmm.
yeah, that, that's
It
exciting
definitely.
events in my
Ooh.
life in air earbuds.
Do I sound different? I
Yeah.
don't know. Do I sound different? I don't know. Do you sound
Yeah.
different?
I do
So
like these
silly.
though. I use these when I go like when I do like running or whatever if I'm working out. That's what I typically use them for. Um,
Oh,
and your camera's just gone blank. Okay.
well, that is peculiar.
What happened
Doo-doo-doo.
there?
I didn't touch it. I'm sitting here. Let's see. What is wrong with you? Should I
Uh,
stab you? Doesn't like the idea of being stabbed. But I'm still here. Let's.
Unless
Can
it's
we turn
still
me back
here.
on? Yep.
Oh,
See,
there we
look. It
go.
just was
We
like,
back. We back.
would you? It's
Um,
okay.
but yeah, we're gonna talk about Cyberpunk. Before we talk about because I did yeah maybe we talk a little bit about the game. Have you played the game by the way?
No, I haven't. That's why I'm like,
Okay.
I've seen game. Okay. I have seen footage of the game, but only some of the glitches,
Okay.
and
So
they're
yeah.
very specific glitches.
Yeah, it definitely had a interesting launch, shall we say? But yeah, I have actually been playing the game recently. In fact, I started playing the game after I watched the series,
I heard
because
about people doing that.
yeah, it was on sale on Steam, and this is like 3 years. It got released like 3 years ago. So a lot of the bugs, I think most, if not all, the bugs have been fixed by now. So it works pretty well that I've been playing. I did notice a few bugs here and there, but nothing too major. But yeah, it works pretty well on my laptop, which is pretty cool because it's not like some super high end thing. So it's
It's
nice that it runs
gaming
pretty well
kind
on a
of.
laptop.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool game so far. I'm not anywhere near completing it. Like I'm probably not even far off the beginning, I imagine. But yeah, so far
Yeah,
so good. I
games that
think
are
CD
super.
Projekt Red do pretty good games with the RPG style.
Yeah, games like that are very open world with many missions. To the people that can 100% them, I'm like, what do you do other than that? You don't.
Right.
It's only that. So, like anyone that can finish like the main story of open world games, like more kudos to them. Knowing like you can just easily branch into like 20 different side quests before you
Hmm.
can actually realize what's the point of the game. It's like I don't
Yeah.
know,
There is a
and I feel like
lot.
Cyberpunk is one of those.
There's a lot, and even I mean, I don't know this for sure. Maybe someone who's played the game all the way through might know. But when you start the game, it gives you three different options as to which type of character you want to play. Whether you go start off as a corporate person or a some other person or a street person. I chose a street person, and I'm assuming, depending on which one you choose, you might have different. You might be given different missions, and as I see different parts of the story, different parts of the city. Maybe not an entirely different game. I doubt. Well, I don't know, but I assume it's not an entirely different game. But I got the impression that depending on which one you pick would determine. It certainly affects how you start the game. So I imagine you get different types of missions to start with, and perhaps it all intermingles somewhere along the lines. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
But so far, so good with
Somewhere
the
it
game.
probably like crosses over, kind of like Detroit Become Human kind of thing. Like everything
Yeah.
converges. Maybe we don't know.
All right. So with that said, so yeah, we're not going to get into spoilers and stuff like that. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Before we get into spoilers, though, for anybody who hasn't seen Cyberpunk Edgerunners, what would your very basic non-spoiler opinion / review of that show be?
This is a very Studio Trigger style show. It was made by Trigger, one of my favorite people, not people, but favorite animation companies. They've done a few different ones. I believe Kill la Kill was one. It's a very hard style, quick pace at certain points, like in your face kind of storyline. It's not subtle. It's not subdued. It's not, I'm going to beat around the bush. It's like, no, you're going to get the nitty gritty. And it's very, very stylized in Trigger's artwork. But the fact that they paired with the actual company that made Cyberpunk is even better. So then you get all of it in one package. So it's like you get this futuristic realism that you're like, oh, I could really see this happening. At some certain points are very anime. Like, not saying what they are, but yeah. But
we'll save that for later.
yeah, absolutely. This is non-spoiler, but it feels like an anime that could happen in like maybe 100 years, you think? Perhaps, maybe.
Okay.
But overall, I'm fixing my camera.
Yeah.
We won't have
one
to
way
upgrade
today.
that one. But overall, I definitely would say it's a shonen style, like a young man pursuing something and he doesn't really understand what happens around him and why it happens. And it's almost, I don't want to call it a coming of age because it doesn't feel like that, but it has those moments because it's like this kid, you know.
Yeah.
I say kid, but you know, I'm an older woman, so I'm a mom.
Yeah, everyone's a kid to you now at this point.
Oh yeah. Bandit, you're a kid to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
I think about 5, 10, maybe years older, but yeah, I'm still a kid to you. It's all good.
you're a kid to me. Until you have another kid, you're a kid to me. But yeah, that's my thought process on it. It's a kid coming of age kind of story. We don't know how long this goes on actually. Like the timeline is kind of like everywhere, but you know, got a line.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. As a sort of a general kind of view of it, it does a lot for sure. The
I don't know,
story
but I found these
is
results on search.
okay.
No one was talking to you, Google.
What was that? Google's
Google
trying to get
wanted
on
to
the podcast. Okay, Google has some opinions on Cyberpunk. All right, cool.
Look at
Cool.
that. AI is
Hey,
coming already.
Hey, for real. And we're about to talk about a show that, okay, well, to be fair, it doesn't technically deal with AI, but I guess some of the stuff that comes up are very closely related to AI.
I wouldn't. I would say that there's not much AI in it.
Yeah.
It
It's,
deals with it in a certain big part, but I wouldn't say that there's underlying tones that AI is going to come in. So
I think there's some similarities between a lot of the AI news coming out in recent times and what they do in the Cyberpunk. But yeah, Cyberpunk is not so much that, but I feel like there's a little bit of crossover in terms of the concepts, you know.
oh yeah, agreed. I could deal with that.
But yeah, we'll talk more about it later as well. But yeah, I feel just as a kind of a, but your camera is messing up today. What's going on?
My camera is like,
turned
oh,
you
it's
green.
cyber, huh? Am I not good enough? What is going on? I'm so sorry. This is
Sorry.
hilarious though. It's like rebelling.
Yeah, for real.
I have no clue. It's probably because I've kept it off for quite some time. I have no clue what's going on.
Maybe it is an
Well, I
AI
guess,
taking over, just like
yeah, I have
I just
no
hey,
clue
Celeste is
why
gonna be
it's
green
acting
today.
this way. I have no clue. Okay, well, I look cool today, huh? I have no clue. I mean, it was turning off, now it's turning on, and now it's a filter. I definitely didn't do that. My hands are over here, so sorry. Did I insult you, Google? Like invading my camera space.
For real.
Anyways,
But yeah, overall, I'd say, yeah, it's a pretty good show. I mean, you definitely don't need to have played the video game to enjoy the show. Though I would say, I don't know if this is a gripe or a praise of the shows. Maybe a little bit of both. It very much kind of jumps in with a lot of the dialogue and stuff like that, where it doesn't necessarily explain what things mean,
oh, absolutely.
but it also kind of explains what things mean in the way that they use certain words and the way they describe things. And so you kind of get an understanding of what certain slangs and stuff like that mean by the time you get to the end of the show. But it's not necessarily super clear at the same time if you're not that familiar with maybe the show or the game. And maybe watch it a few times, you might get familiar with it. Or maybe if you play the game, you might be more familiar with some of the words and some of the
The
vocabulary. Um,
occupations and
but yeah,
other.
definitely when I was watching this the first time round, I was kind of like, I think I know what you mean by that. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's like you don't actually know what this is or what that means or like this person, like who's who, what does that mean? Like there was just a little bit of the vocabulary that we were missing. And I mean, that's been happening a lot to recent
mm,
shows. And like, not to go too off topic, but like Raya and the Last Dragon, I watched that one when I was pregnant and I was like, wait, what does that mean? And I'm like, okay, let's go back and let's pause, research. And I'm like, okay, obviously this is a derogatory term, but it would just be nicer to know what the heck is like,
yeah,
is it like the C word? Or are we talking about just calling them a female dog? Like, is that allowed in Disney? Like, okay. But obviously with Cyberpunk, this is a completely mature kind of show. So it's like when you know they say they're like insulting someone, they're not going to beat around the bush. They're
yeah.
just going to bomb it really hard.
But yeah, but I think I mean, the downside to that is that, yeah, you might be a little bit confused out from time to time. I think the upside to it is that it does kind of, I mean, if you're interested in the show, which I think if once you watch it the first time around, you probably would because it's a pretty good show. It does kind of put you in a position where you kind of like, okay, let me look something up, and then let me look this up, and then you might from that start learning more about the show. And it's a pretty big world, Cyberpunk, Night City, whole kind of world, and so many things happening and going on, and they've really created this really deep kind of universe where they have like their own kind of economy and their own kind of slang and colloquialisms, and the way they just kind of describe things and talk about stuff is such a kind of natural way. And of course, it makes sense for them to speak like that because they're in that world. But when you're on the outside looking in, it's kind of like, let me write this down and check it later.
It's like, okay, is there an urban dictionary for that?
Right?
No.
There is, by the way, well, technically, kind of not quite Urban Dictionary, but there is. There, I did find a list of cyberpunk slang words and what they
Oh,
mean
really?
online. So yeah, it does
Oh, that's
exist. It does
fine.
exist. All right. Well, let's get into some spoilers now. Then
Here we go
let's
into the
for
content.
anybody who hasn't seen a show, this is your spoiler warning. From here on out, we're just gonna talk about the show in all its detail and everything else. So
And
if you've
all
not
of its
seen it,
cybernous glory. Yep.
indeed, might want to check it first. So if you don't care for spoilers, if you've already seen it, you don't care for spoilers, and it's all cool. We continue. All right.
Right, here
So,
we go.
Mrs. Celeste Orchid,
Yes.
what was your
Actually, you got that wrong. It's lady, but
Lady? Sue me, my bad, my bad. Lady Celeste Orchid.
yes, hello.
Let me put some
Yes,
respect
Bandit.
on your name. Be
Thank you.
green today.
Oh, you know.
What was your biggest takeaway from this show? Like, what struck you the most about it?
Oh my goodness. The biggest thing about this one is that it's like the human aspect was being taken away constantly when people kept getting new Chrome, quote unquote.
Hmm.
So it's just like, okay, let me upgrade this. Let me upgrade this. And then my body can upgrade this. Like I can handle this. But then it all came down to like your psychosis and could you handle it at a certain point, and then you could
Right.
become fried.
Yeah.
And then that was like interesting because currently in our day and age right now, a lot of people have mental problems. So even if we start introducing chrome to people, like cutting off our limbs and then having new hands or something like that, that are like bigger, stronger, faster for you. But if you're already like mentally destroyed, you're not going to be able to handle something new attached to you cybernetically. And then yeah, that's one of my biggest things because there's a lot of people out there in the world who have had like accidents and like they lost an arm or lost a leg, or there's been a lot of tragedy in the world and they lost a leg that way, or they were just born without like a pinky. So there's many different kind of limb situations where you have to like where you would want to have a cybernetic attachment to you. But it's interesting in the absence of like, okay, well, now I'm getting these upgrades because of my limbs. And then it's like, oh, but it's melting my brain. And it's like, oh, is it worth it at this point to actually pursue cybernetic enhancements? I'm like, maybe not. I don't really need to be able to break the speed of light with my legs. Like, I don't want to melt my flesh either. So that was one of my biggest things because a lot of it focuses on the parts, the chrome or the cybernetic enhancements, especially dealing with cyberpunk.
Mm.
Because in the beginning, David gets bullied for not having any. So, and then at the end, we see you at the end. He's like complete chrome out.
Yeah. Just like from there to there. Yeah.
Yeah, it just went from like tiny like none to like bam in your face, like everything's chrome. It's like, I don't think you're okay. You definitely didn't become okay, but that's okay. But that was one of my biggest things because I know quite a few of my friends are just like, oh, I can't wait to have faster fingers to do things. I'm like, that doesn't sound like the smart thing. Like it sounds like you want just the iPhone fad of, oh, the next hottest, coolest thing is out, but what are the repercussions? And that's something that a lot of people don't see. So that was my biggest takeaway. What about you?
No, that's a yeah. No, I can see it. I mean, I guess in terms of like a say a real world parallel, you can have all this cool technology. Like even right now, you can have really cool technology, but what is it doing to our brains? You know what I mean?
I mean,
Like
look at my camera. Like it's
right.
cool technology, right? But why am I green?
You
I
know,
have no clue what happened.
it's
Anyways,
but yeah, it's like you mentioned like the iPhone and the fact that I mean, like we've all got kind of smartphones that do all this kind of stuff, and but how much time do we spend on our phones at times? Maybe scrolling through this, looking at that, and of course, there's a lot of productive things you can do with your phone. I'm not suggesting that, but in terms of just being like, sometimes you can find yourself scrolling for ages, and it's cool that we have this technology. It's cool that we're able to communicate and keep in contact through all these cool things, but what is the mental impact on that? I feel like that's a kind of real world parallel. So yeah, I think that was an interesting one. That in a show you had what do you call it, cyber psychosis. Of course, they take some more extreme kind of level where you can be Superman, so to speak. You can have power. You can have all this strength. You can have speed. All these cool things, built into you. But the more you do it, the more it ruins you. And then I guess there's the addictive side to it as well, where even though it's bad for you, like mentally, the fact that you're just still addicted to that feeling of being in control, being powerful, and David being someone who was bullied, you know, his mother struggling to pay for stuff that so he can go to this school that he didn't even want to go to, so he has all
right,
this that he's carrying with him, and then when he is getting these cybernetics, it's giving him that power that he can beat up these bullies now. He can take on this. He can do that. He becomes this Superman type. Well, not Superman because Superman can fly, but he
yeah.
becomes
I mean, he
this
can't fly,
powerful
but
dude.
it sure made him seem like that.
And and I guess partly because he had this sort of tough background, he was able to. I mean, they don't mention it specifically, but I assume that partly because he had this tough background, he was able to handle the the mental side of it a bit better than most people, and perhaps that gave him a bit more arrogance that I can handle anything. You know, even like the when the doc was saying, not the doc, sorry, JK, the BD maker, the brain dancer guy, will say something like you must think you're special. That kind of stuck in his mind. Yeah, I must be special. So he started to believe his own hype, and you saw how that kind of brought him down as well because he was losing it, and the meds weren't working anymore, and he just kept wanting to do more and more and get more and more. And he had like the Sandevisan cybernetic built in. Then he had that level. Was it the Arasaka military? I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, it had that built in. And
Oh
he
yeah,
had Maine's
the
one as well built in. And it was
skeleton.
just yeah. So it's like I feel like there's definitely a real world parallel that yes, you can have all this technology. Yes, you can do all these amazing cool things, but there is this addictive nature to it. And what does that do to you as well? And what is the trade off? You know, how much does that cost you? Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but
It's
yeah,
kind of
that
strange because I would say like when he got the Sandevistan, the first one, I was like, I bet it's gonna be like tattoos. You can't just have one at the point because then you want multiple tattoos. But it's just like with tattoos, you don't actually have repercussions. I've never really seen someone that has repercussions from getting ink unless they hate it or they're allergic to a special kind of ink.
yeah.
And it's like it is possible to be allergic to it at the same time, which one are you putting in you? Because I've heard that is it UV reactive? Yeah, the UV reactive ink causes people to react, but there's newer inks where it doesn't have that problem. So I'm just like, well, shit. Either way, I was like, oh, new chrome. It's kind of like getting tattoos, but with you need drugs now.
Yeah, you need medicine to handle the tattoo, I guess, or I mean, I guess
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that is kind of a similar kind of thing as well. Like or I guess with anything you do that, there is that kind of cool feeling to it that you kind of want to recapture, and you get more, you get more, you get more, and for those who do have bad reactions to tattoos, they might need medication to deal with that.
Oh yeah. Like I don't know. Do you have tattoos?
I do, yes. I've got one there, which is a bit difficult to show because I can't twist my arm that much.
Oh,
I got one
okay.
there,
Oh, I see it.
and I've got one on my shoulder.
Ah, I actually didn't know you had tattoos until now. That's why I'm
Yeah.
like, I think you do. I have two. One is on my ankle. I can kind of show if I just like flex. Eek. It's
Was
a
that a skull?
moon.
Oh, it's a moon. Okay,
No,
my bad.
it's a moon here with a rabbit, some swirlies, and then some flowers. I like put like I saw this tattoo when I was in high school, and someone drew the design on DeviantArt, and I was like, holy crap, that is so cute. And then when I turned a certain age, my husband's like, you should get a tattoo. I'm like, you know what? I lived this long. I might as well get a tattoo now. And then I have one behind my ear here, and it's to match my husband. Instead of like king and queen and like key and hole. Well, we did do key and hole, but
Key and hole.
mine's a
Okay.
switch and hole. Like, it's just like a
Hey,
couple
your
tattoo
marriage
days.
is cool.
Yeah, I'm kidding. So I have a cyber kind of like design on my ear, well, behind my ear, and it's in white and blue. And he has like kind of like a USB key sign behind his
All
ear
right.
on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, it's just like a couple things. So it's not like I'm trying to show off and be like, yeah, I'm married. Screw you. Like, no, it's not that. It's like this is just for us because you're my soulmate kind of thing, that kind of thing. And it's like, well, even if like one of us dies early or if we divorce, no, no, no.
You could get it
There's still
tattooed
good
over.
tattoos on their own.
You have
No, okay, okay. Wait, before we get off that, I actually was like, if I really hate my tattoo, I'll just peel my skin off. Like some girl in the UK did it. No, 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 no. There's a legit article. If you guys look it up, but I forget all these like weird topics, but I read a lot. So there is a woman who's like got her name like Chopper's bitch written on her arm. And then she found out he was cheating on her. So she got really drunk on tequila, iced her arm really bad, numbed it with some cream, and then she like cut it out and then put it in a jar and sent it to him. I'm like, that's really freaking metal. And then she's like, oh,
yeah.
it's just skin, it'll grow back. I'm like,
She chopped her arm off.
I'll do that. but at the same, because I don't want to pay for laser treatment, and then it'll grow back because skin grows back. But that's
Oh, it's just
gotta be
skin, not the
okay.
arm. Okay, I thought you meant she chopped her arm off. She chopped her skin
No,
off. She cut her
no,
skin
no, no.
off.
She cut her skin off. It's not
Oh,
like
okay.
it's
I mean, that's
not
still
this
pretty
all off,
extreme,
but
but yeah, okay.
yeah. But no, what's worse is I saw another woman. She had like flowers on her chest, right? She did the chemical way, and now she's got keloids, red giant ones, and they're like huge and puffy. And I was like, what made you think that that was a good idea? Next time, just cut it off. Like the woman that cut her thing off, that looks so much more easy than the peel. Like, oh my god, that just the things. Oh well, I guess my USB is coming out, but still,
You looking to get more
no.
tattoos yourself?
What's that?
Are you looking to get more tattoos yourself?
Oh, absolutely. There is one that I want, but I don't know where I would put it. Okay. So I don't know where I'd put it, but I want a like gothic kind of lace gemstone one. And I was thinking at the back of my neck because as a cosplayer, I really don't want to like mess up the appeal and the look of like, oh yeah, look at this giant piece here. And be like, oh yeah, but I'm dressed up as XYZ person. It kind of takes me out of the realm. I don't have a problem with other people doing it. But at the same time, for me, I'd rather have my tattoos hidden because they're for me, not
Yeah.
for other people to show off. It's like, okay, if you want to show off art, have an art gallery. Like that's my thought. Instead of like, oh yeah, it doesn't come off. Wow. Yes, it does. You just don't want to take the hard way.
Yeah, and I get that.
I'm sorry.
I mean, my tattoos in places that don't typically get shown too much as well. So, yeah, and I get that. It's just things that you do for yourself, and I mean, people get. I'm not trying to knock what other people do at it. That's fine. But yeah,
Oh
for
yeah,
me, it's like
absolutely.
I mean, that being said, I'm thinking of like this one, get it covered up so that it kind of
No,
goes all
really?
around here. So that
What are
might
you
be pretty
thinking?
out. You know, I don't even
What are you
know,
thinking?
but I feel like it'd be cool to have like a. I guess I'm not quite a sleeve because I don't want this bit done, but just like the
Yeah.
forearm. You know,
Yeah. That's still
is
that's
that still
technically a
they
sleeve
still call it a
still.
sleeve? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I just think like maybe just around up to about from about say the wrist, um,
Mm-hmm.
around here up till maybe at most just above the elbow, but mostly just in this area. You know,
Uh-huh.
so that's what I
That'd
was
be
kind of
cool.
thinking. But I don't even know what.
Oh my
Just
god.
something cool and
I want
epic. You know.
it's not like okay, if I like I've always thought of being that chick with like a full sleeve, like no joke, like full on body tat. I've always thought of myself wanting to do that. And I'm not. I'm not. If I didn't get into cosplay, I probably would, but I'm not. But I want to do have you heard of trash polka? It's like a bunch of streaks with different layers. So like you could have like a bird or something. Hold on, let me send you one. Because it is one of my most favorite types of tattoo. Okay, if you want to work today, try a keyboard. Trash polka tattoo. I think it's like the coolest style because you can like have a mishmash of all your favorite things, and then it's basically black and gray with one color, usually red. I've seen it done in blue, and it is so cool. Let's see, want to or be one that I actually really like. No, I don't like that one. Like it's just really cool. So it's kind of like designs like this. Copy image. And it tab it. Okay, so I will put it in our chat here.
All right.
There you go. So you can see like it's kind of stuff like this, or if it's on someone, copy image address here.
Oh, what did I just do?
I think trash polka is so cool. Would I do it for myself? Not really. I think it's cool though. But if I was that person, I could. Here, I'll put it. Did you find it?
Oh, what's going on? Oh wait, move this out of the way. It's not the look. It hasn't loaded, but it should hopefully load soon. Um,
But yeah, I
oh
would
wait,
I would do trash
oh
polka.
wait. No, I need to open something. I need to open something. Oh,
Oh,
okay,
nice.
yeah. Cool.
With like the ink stripe, and then you get like the harsh lines, and then something crazy, or like there's some techno ones that I saw, and I'm just like, I just love the idea of it being abstract. You can make it really your own. It's very futuristic in my opinion. So yeah, it's like a dystopian tattoo.
All
Wouldn't
right.
think that I would like that, but I do.
Hey, I mean, it's not. It's pretty cool looking tattoo. So just saying. Don't rule it out. But yeah,
Anyway, back to
got
it.
a
Very
little bit
cool.
off topic. So let's try
Sorry,
and
guys.
come back a little
From
bit.
tattooing, this is what I would
From
get.
a slight chat about tattoos back to cyberpunk and the tattooing of the body with metal. Um, oh wait, camera's
Yeah.
gone again.
No, I'm fixing my camera.
All right, cool.
Oh, I
Uh,
guess not. I'm trying.
all right, while trying to fix the camera, what was the thing you did not like the most? Didn't like the most, or you liked it? Yeah, did not like the most. The
Yeah,
thing that
you're
you
correct.
liked the least about
That's correct too.
Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
The thing I hated the least. No, the thing that I hated the
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
Yes, we're getting there.
Again.
Um, I really hated just the ending. I really hated how the ending came to it because it's like when they had that super like, oh yeah, that guy, that this legendary mercenary guy just come in and then
Oh yeah, yeah.
slaughter the day, like
Ah, that
slaughter
smasher.
David. I hated that. It's just like could there have been a little bit more? It was just like really glossed over. It's like, okay, David's super strong now and he's dealing with cyber psychosis. He's got to go save Lucy because they need this for the job with the fixer dude. And then it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, he's actually a mercenary for Arasaka. And it's like, okay, like what? Okay, so now he just appears like that. It didn't even feel like a final boss. It just kind of felt like slapped in there because,
Yeah.
he's super strong. We need someone just to be super strong too. And it wasn't even like a actual like, oh, David can take him out kind of thing. It's like, no, I'm just gonna stay super strong and you just die. That's it. Boom. End of story. That's it. Good night. And I was like, okay, that's not even plot armor. That's just bad writing.
Mm. Yeah,
What
no,
about
for
you?
sure. Yeah, he kind of. I mean, I think he just gets mentioned in the show around about episode 7 or episode 8, or
Right.
something like that. And it was like when David's getting fixed up, and he's like, you could be the Adam Smasher 2.0, and he's like, who's that? And it's like, okay, there's this Adam Smasher guy. And yeah, you're right. He kind of comes in a bit late, and then it's who cares, right? Um,
Right? It's not even really foreshadowing that moment because it's by the guy that like makes the what are those called? Skid? No. The videos where people die. What are those called?
oh, the brain dances,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, that guy.
XBDs, the extreme brain dance.
Right, those. And he mentions it because like, oh yeah, you got out of it. Ooh. And it's like, all right. Like, I don't know. I feel like David just got cheated at the end. Like, okay, the fact that he got in the cyber exoskeleton, okay, that makes sense. But it's like, that's it? Okay. Go on. I'm sorry.
That's all right. But yeah, no, I'll say for myself, that's the thing that I liked the least as well. But not so much, maybe not so much that specifically, but just in general with the show, it did kind of feel like at times it was kind of moving at an odd pace, and I just want to talk about dubs versus subs in a little while, but just for now, the first time I watched it. It was the Japanese language with the English subtitles, and I felt like I was able to keep up pretty much with what was going on. But sometimes the subtitles maybe moved a bit too fast for me to read, and I'm sure I'm missing stuff. So I was thinking maybe it's because of that. It felt like it was skipping around. Perhaps I'm just not reading fast enough to keep up. But when I watched it again, I watched it with the English dub, um, and watched it all the way again. And this time, having seen it before, watching it again in a language that I'm much more familiar with,
Oh,
it
yeah.
still felt like butts were just kind of moving around, or like there was a part where when David gets into a fight with that kid, and then he gets expelled from school, but not expelled. Sorry, no, the headmaster of that school is like talking about, oh yeah, we want to. He could be like a candidate for this program that they got running. And it seems like that can be like a major plot point when they're talking about it, but then they never mention it again until later on in
Like
the
episode
series.
6 or 7. Like, it's
Yeah,
pretty late.
and it's like when they find the headmaster, and he's all like, "Oh, we're gonna do this," but nothing ever happening because I think he dies or whatever. And it's like, okay, so they kind of built this up, did nothing with it, and then threw it away. So it's kind of
Sort of,
yeah,
sort of. I totally get you because like that program was for the exoskeleton at the end. And then the Arasaka guy, president, who is the father of the kid that
yeah,
bullied David, was the one where Lucy found out about the program, and that's why they were trying to have him enroll back in. And I mean, it's not a really great storyline because it's like underlying levels of all this other stuff happening. So I think that was pretty sloppy. But yeah, it had its mentions, and it's like, oh, Lucy's going rogue, and she's doing these things. That's why she doesn't go on jobs anymore. But that was kind of like the ending part because it starts from the beginning. It gets mentioned. It's like, this is why we want you at Arasaka. Oh yeah, here you go. We're gonna pay this bitch to sabotage you, and yeah, there you go.
yeah. But yeah, I think that was maybe my main gripe, just kind of how. I mean, I think to be fair, that's probably my main gripe with a lot of shows in recent years, where it just feels like they skip bits or stories not being told in a sort of steady way. So yeah, this is
Mhm.
just kind of like that, you know. But I think aside from that, uh, I thought the way they killed David's mother, Gloria, in the beginning, I mean, it wasn't bad. I think it's kind of a novel idea to have someone just killed off in some random street crime that had nothing to do with them, right? On one hand, it's like a cool thing to do because like it could happen. It's Night City, all these things are going on. But at the same time, it did kind of feel when you kind of watching it again, it's like, I mean, can they not think of something a bit more, you know what I mean? That
Yeah, original, like
because
more
it's just meaningless in the
cyberpunky.
end. I mean, I
Yeah,
get it's a type of thing that can happen in that world, and it makes sense that it can happen in that world to anybody, right? It's not an,
right.
but at the same time, it's just it's a pointless death in the end, you know.
I wouldn't say that because that's how he gets the Sandy Viston, and then because he gets the Sandy Viston, that
Oh
starts the
yeah, maybe
journey.
yeah, no,
I
yeah.
mean,
To be fair, maybe
it's
pointless isn't
it's
the
not
right
a
way to
great
describe
way
it.
that she died. It's not a
It's
great way,
yeah,
but I think it could have been handled a little bit better or something. Like he found it and then she dies, so then she doesn't get to explain like what's going on. Like I think it could have just been handled better because it's kind of sad. But I think it shows also how bleak his situation is of like, okay, you can't pay for the washing machine. Okay, now you're late on rent. And she's like, I'm struggling and to pay just for your school. And it's just like now that you try to do a back alleyway, now I'm really in the red. So it's just I think it really meant to like show how bleak his life is and how like low on the food chain. But it's like, come on, you don't have to kill her like that. And it's like, oh look, this person's dying. Yeah, she doesn't have premium insurance or any insurance with us, so
oh
she's
yeah,
just gonna have
yeah,
to
yeah.
like
That
die
was
there.
cold, wasn't it?
Right.
That
I'm like,
was
this kid does not
cold.
deserve that.
I was like, damn, oof.
I mean, I could see it happening. I just hope it doesn't happen that way.
His
It's
mother
like
was
save
a
some.
bit of a hypocrite though, because she was all like, you gotta, uh, work hard and I'm doing all this stuff. Blah blah blah. Turns out she was dealing with Maine on the side to get him into the Arasaka Academy. So like, yeah, she was kind of a hypocrite herself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just kind of like, what's going on with that? Why is it going like that? Okay. Trying to figure out if I can fix this. Guess not. But it's kind of like she did she wanted to do something better for him so that way he didn't have to struggle like how she had to do. And it kind of makes sense because she didn't want to show her son like the dirty deeds
Yeah,
that she did just to make sure that their bills were paid. And she was a single mother. Like we
yeah.
don't know anything about the dad. So it's kind of like, oh, that's unfortunate, but he's trying. Or maybe if he had a father figure, it would be something different. Either way, we don't know because that's where he's at already. He's already a teeny.
Yeah, and that's kind of thing of it as well. That it's, I mean, of course, it's easy to sit on the outside and say she's a hypocrite because, well, I mean, she is technically, but the yeah,
But
reality
I mean,
is
she
that,
is.
but the thing of it is that yeah, she always is this a terrible situation, and she is struggling to get by and pay for this, pay for that, and so on and so forth. And her situation was that she felt this is what she had to do, and keep that side away from David as much as possible. And to be honest, I think a lot of people would probably do something similar. Um, and I mean, let me ask you this actually: as a mother of
As a mom.
nearly a year, if you ever found yourself in a situation where you're struggling to get by, struggling for money, you're having to pay for food, pay for clothes, pay for school, and pay for all these kinds of things, your job's not paying much, maybe you're about to get fired, would you be like the type of? Do you feel you're the type of person who would be like, I would do, I don't know, say some criminal things in order to get money, or would you feel the type of person who'd be like, nope, straight and narrow, and if I can't afford it, I can't afford it?
That's difficult. I think there's a lot of things that I would consider trying to do, but I'm pretty lawful neutral on that stance in the sense of like if I can't afford it, then we have to make that cut. And I wouldn't really want to go into criminal activity because like once it's on your record, it's on your record. And I'm like, no. So no, I wouldn't. Like, I have a lot of different kind of sites that I get my income from, but I would not go into like drug selling or anything like that. That's not for me. I don't want that in my house. And it's like, yeah, I think I draw the line at when it gets to like actual criminal activity. And if it's legal in one state, I'll do it in that one state. Like
Just
if I need to
move,
work at
yeah.
a distillery, like I'll live there, but I won't go back to a different country because now I have the money from it. It's like I don't mix it. So it's like okay, it's kind of like the idealism, or not idealism, but like the rules of Korea. So like Korean culture, I believe, is if you do something that's illegal in Korea, like obviously you get arrested. But if you go to like the place where you're at and say like Amsterdam and you partake into smoking weed, like to me that's not bad. But don't do it in my house. I hate the smell. So so like if you do that and then they catch you for that, you could actually be punished still in Korea. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, but at the same time it's like that kind of sucks. So either way, I'd still live in the country and then do like their legal versions, whereas some other locations would call
Okay.
it like illegal. But
Okay.
most of all, no, I won't go into organ selling. I will not go into uh like drug dealing. Like no, it just doesn't make sense for me. But like assassination, then I would go, you gotta draw the
Yeah,
line maybe. Like if I'm good at it, oh, that sounds great. Like
who can
woo,
be taken care of?
woo, then I gotta talk. Just kidding. I couldn't do that. But yeah, I wouldn't. I
Okay,
would I
so
would I would literally just be like, well, sucks to be you. There's a library, start learning and beefing your resume. That's free.
okay, so I guess it's like you wouldn't do certain illegal stuff, but maybe exploit a few loopholes if you can.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I mean, that's what a lot of richer people have done. They found the loophole to be able to get their money or something like that. But it's not illegal. There are some things that are illegal, and there's just like, no, you got to pay your taxes.
Yeah, I think for myself, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like you said, it's always hard to answer these questions when you're not actually faced with that situation, right? All you
Mhm.
could do is kind of hypothesize or whatever. But I will say that I'd like to think that I would be the type of person who would, stick to the law and, do what you can within the laws. That being said, I also recognize that my morals and types of things that I think are okay and good and stuff like that don't necessarily align with the law. you know,
Oh, that's fine too. I agree with that.
so there's things that I might be willing to do, even though they're technically illegal. I don't necessarily think they're bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, maybe things like that. But then again, you have to be mindful of the law, and like I say, maybe look for a few loopholes or see what you could get around with, or don't never get too greedy. Never get too greedy. We're just giving
Oh,
a
yeah,
criminal advice right now.
absolutely.
Never get too greedy. That's how everybody gets caught. They get too greedy. You know.
Exactly. You have to know when to press your luck and when not to.
Okay.
Speaking of pressing luck, what would you get done? Like, okay, like you could get anything fixed on your body, or you could get any cybernetic enhancement. What would you pick?
Oof. Oh wait, are we talking about do I still suffer the psychosis?
Well, no, your first one is basically you're okay. Remember?
Okay, it's okay. Only later on. Okay, cool, cool. So first one's
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I can get anything.
yeah.
Uh, hmm, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's so many cool things you can get done, right? But I think here's the problem. And in fact, this kind of segues to something I want to talk to you about. So yeah, no, awesome.
Okay.
Um, but here's the thing. Like, all right, it'd be really cool to shoot lasers out your hand, right? That'd be a really cool thing to
Whee!
do. Just about, psh. But if you have a cybernetic implant so you can do that, then you can never really touch things again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
could,
yeah. Like it's not the touch sensation,
yeah,
like
like
it's
so
your
you
actual hands. It's a piece of metal touching it for you.
right. So it's like even though I might not get the cyber psychosis or mentally I'll be okay, but the fact that you'll never really be able to just touch another person and feel that again, you know. And I get, there's the people out there who don't have that choice, and I don't mean to be,
No, they can
unsensitive to
still
that.
touch with their elbow. It's okay. They'll
Uh,
feel something.
but yeah,
Is it?
if I had to choose a cybernetic implant, and I mean, even any way you put it, like there's that thing that becomes it's that part of you that is not quite natural anymore. And even though it could do like this really cool thing, it's like I don't know what's that thing that people say the ship of Theseus, I think it's called, where how much of the ship can you take away and replace, and it still be that ship? Or
Oh yeah, yeah. I totally know what you're talking about. I just don't know what it's called.
but yeah, that. So I guess it's almost like that. It's like, granted, it's only the small part at the beginning. We're not talking about all the stuff later on. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's the type of thing I'd be thinking about. That okay, there's so many cool things you could have. Like how handy would it be to have an eye on your hand so you can look at something without looking at it. But then
Okay.
now you've got an eye in your hand. You know, now,
Okay. It's
you know what I mean?
yes, I get it.
I
Because
guess
it's
it'd be
like,
cool
oh
to.
yeah, I need to look for like my phone under the couch. Like I can't see it. Like, is it there? Then you can
Right.
look through your hand and be like, oh, it's there. Oh. But yeah.
Now,
So you
yeah.
would put it like, but like, what would you get though?
I probably, well, if I had to choose, then I
Yes, you
probably
have
would.
to choose something.
I'll probably go with something like maybe heating, like your hand that can heat things. But only one hand though. Only one hand, not both hands.
Left
One
or
hand can
right.
heat things. That way I could
Or
maybe
would you
warm
get
up
a
my bed.
separate hand attachment?
Yeah, right. Oh, that'd be even better. Then you could like. Oh wait, no, because they have to carry two arms around. You know, bit awkward.
I mean, it's the future. You could have like that one guy just like ripped his hands off all the time. The doctor. So I
Face
mean,
it. Keep it in my backpack.
it's
Uh,
possible.
But I
Yeah,
think that'd be
listen,
cool to have something that heats things, or yeah, or lasers. You know, lasers is always cool. I think just shoot lasers. I think you know. But
Okay.
what would you get?
A heart.
A heart.
As in, like, I would replace my
I
heart.
think you already have. Okay.
What?
I was about to say, I think you already have a heart. But you
Yeah,
just.
I have a heart, but eventually it's gonna stop beating. So that's when I die. But if I could keep replacing my heart, that'd be awesome. You know what I mean? So then I could not die.
I mean, I think you can still die, right? I think.
Technically, if there's a strong enough EMP pulse, like yes, but it's like I'm still technically human because it's still
Okay.
pumping. Because like right now we have like pacemakers for the heart,
Yeah.
but still it's our beating heart, and I'm just like, well, when our heart stops, we have like what 5 minutes until we like die from like no oxygen to our brain or something. I don't know, but I'm just saying if we keep the heart going, shouldn't we
Okay.
be okay?
All right. Let's think about it for a second. Then, so you get a heart
Yeah, yeah,
replaced,
yeah.
where it's something that would never stop beating, right? And it's
Yeah.
constantly pumping blood around your body. Okay. But then you could get like really, really old, like maybe like 300, 400 years old.
Yeah.
and then everyone around you would be gone, like all your friends and family would be gone, and you'd be like old and like frail, and it's like,
Like the chocolate woman in SpongeBob. What'd you
it's just like
say?
frail,
Chocolate.
and your heart's still going strong.
Yeah.
About 400 years later, the whole centuries have gone by, your heart's still going strong, but you're just like this weak, frail body.
But I
It's like,
mean, that doesn't stop me. That's my first piece. Like, what if I want more? Think about it.
oh, so you get a heart done first, and then you have your whole body replaced.
Yes,
It could be like, oh, have you
absolutely.
seen Death Becomes Her?
Yes. Oh my
It
god,
could
I
be
love that
like
movie.
that, except with
I'd be
cybernetics.
see. Okay, I'd be okay with that because I really like that movie. And then the whole thing of like, oh yeah, we need like to take care of our body. And it's like, okay, well, I know how to take care of my body, but that they clearly had a problem because they didn't realize that they were dead.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, well, if my body's stopped aging and it's dead, but it's like at its peak, what's the problem? I don't have a problem with that.
So would you want to live forever? Like, if you could be like your age now forever and never age again, would you want that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like a vampire?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Why do you think I'm so pale? Oh, well, you can't tell because I'm green. Yeah, I don't like being in the sun. I like being in the sun for like 10 minutes. That's it. Nope, I'm good. Like, nope, don't need the
You
vitamin
need,
D.
yeah,
I'll get a pill.
you
It's
need, you
fine.
need, you need, you need the vitamin D. You need a sun. Maybe not
It's
too
fine. I'll
much
take
sun.
a pill. It's okay. Look, modern medicine. We love it. What's that? You got pain? Okay. Get an epidural. Give birth to a kid. Okay, cool. I'd be totally okay living forever, looking like my age.
I don't know. I
It's
mean,
not even a bad number.
it's
Like if you told me I had to be like 12 for the rest of my life, I think I'd have a problem.
yeah. That would suck. That would suck.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I guess you get to go on all the cool fun rides, when you're 12, and you don't have to like pay bills and stuff. You know.
No, no, no. That would suck because then they're just going to be like, okay, you got to move to another like you have to move to another state or country because you look 12. Now you got to find yourself in the system, do paperwork, XYZ, and then
Right.
find a new family to take you in and then watch them grow old and then you don't grow up. Oh, it's like that movie called Orphan. Have you seen that?
I don't
It's a
think
horror
so.
movie.
Oh wait, is that the
Yeah.
one with Nicole Kidman?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind then. I
I,
ain't seen
I
it.
actually let me double check. Uh, 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 uh. No, Nicole Kidman is not in it. Anyway,
All right, cool.
either way, it's like this girl who's like 9 years old looking. She's not. Spoiler. We're already on spoilers, but still. She ain't 9 years old and she just goes around killing people.
That sounds like a cool movie, actually. I'm gonna have to check it
It
out.
came out in 2009,
It's
and
not too
then
long
there's
then.
like a
Well,
a
ish.
prequel to it. So,
Oh, it's free. Okay, cool. Starts to get into then. All right.
yeah. So you can see both of those in order and then come back to this conversation. But yeah, I totally would not want to be like, I wouldn't want to be 12 and I would not want to be 45 living at forever.
Okay. Well,
45
let
just
me
seems a little bit like middle aged. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding.
all right. Let me
No,
not
no,
say
no.
my age then.
No, I'm not even 45. Okay, sorry.
I'm playing.
But yeah, no, to all those who are past their 40s, I'm just, I already have hip problems because I gave birth. I just, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think
That's
if you're
that.
gonna be young, well, not young, maybe not young's the right word, but if you're gonna pick an age and be that age forever, I feel like, yeah, 20s to 30s is probably maybe not, let's say like mid 20s to mid 30s. I think is a good
Yeah.
sort of age rate to pick and be that age forever. That being said, I don't think I'd want to do it though. I feel like it'd be cool because you could do all kinds of cool stuff and have loads of times to do all kinds of cool stuff. But I feel like once you get bored of all the stuff, it's just like all your friends are gone. You have to make new friends all the time, and then they go up and they gone, and then you have to and I guess the cool part of it is that you could travel the world, you could do all kinds of stuff forever and always have the energy to do it. But it's like, man, you have to keep making connections all over again, and
I
you're
mean,
like,
if you're not a social person, it's a problem. You don't want to live forever. That's a different thing. I mean, I guess it really just depends on the person. Cause like there are times where I'm like, oh God, this person's messaging me. And I'm like, oh hi, bestie, how are you? Oh, God, just leave me alone.
you got to
Like I
deal with
can't deal
that
with your shit
forever.
today.
Man. And then
But
it's like
I think
everyone's
it
gonna be
really
too young for you. Like
I
everyone's
already
too young
am.
for you. Yeah.
I go to an anime convention and I'm like, oh yeah, I got a kid. They're like, you have a kid? I'm like, yeah, why? How old are you? They're like, I'm 16. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I here? Like the thing is, some anime is not meant for like 12 to like 20-year-olds. And like this one, I would kind of say is one of those ones where it's like you have to be a little bit more mature to get the themes. You know what I mean? Because it's
But the
like
convention or Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk,
Okay,
sorry.
cool. All right.
Yeah, like the convention, no, you could totally watch Peppa Pig and come in. I don't give a fuck. But like you're 16 and I'm like, oh yeah, hi, it's nice to meet you. And they're like, oh wow, great costume. I'm like, thanks, you too. And they're like, yeah, I bought it. I'm like, oh, I made mine. And then, it just gets kind of awkward.
Yeah.
It gets awkward. I'm just a dinosaur.
All right.
It's fine.
All right. So let's not so much Cyberpunk. I guess it's more about anime in general. This next bit then, because I do want to talk about dubs versus subs, and as I mentioned before, I watched it initially subtitled with the Japanese voiceover, and then again watched it with the English voiceover, also with the subtitles on because I just put subtitles on anyway these days. Um, do you have a preference between dubs versus subs? Because I know there's like this kind of big kind of debate in anime communities about which is better, but I kind of feel
Oh
like
yeah.
at this point, I'm not sure either is better because it's come such a long way. Or what's your take on that?
So I am kind of a purist, but I love giving a chance to dubs because some of them are my friends. Like I'm friends with voice actors, and I'm like, oh wow, they're in this. I'm gonna give it a shot. But I also like to see it in its original state, and it's kind of like appreciating like the real Mona Lisa, and then you can buy a poster of the Mona Lisa. That doesn't mean it has any less value, but you can bring it with you and you understand it more, kind of thing. Personally, I do like dubs. I like Japanese, like not dubs, subs.
Subs.
Yeah, I love Japanese. Yeah, woo, and anyways, yeah, I have always appreciated hearing like the original voices. I grew up watching dubs on like Cartoon Network and Saturday mornings in on ABC, and it was just really weird to see like their mouths moving. But personally, nowadays, I'll take either or, and like I have some of my top favorite dubs still be like really hard to top, but there are some that I'm just like, holy crap, that was amazing. And it's not easy to do like voice performances, like having to match it at a certain point. And it's like, oh yeah, this is why I don't do that. Okay. I would like to, but paid.
One day. When I see this
It's on my
podcast, they'll be
bucket
calling you.
list. Like like right now, it's all about making sure I have my kids and up to speed. When they're like 10, I want to revisit like going into voice acting because it's like Oprah Winfrey. Excuse me. Got into her like channel and her talk show, and when she was like 45 or 45 or something. I'll drink some water. So it's like you're never too late. You're dead. When you're dead, it's too late. Okay. So you could keep trying. Twat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I think especially if you're talking about some of the old school animes, where they were recorded in Japanese originally, and then maybe later on they did like the English dub, and the English dub was often done by some third party studio somewhere, that had none of the context of, of the original show. They just maybe just perhaps just giving some notes or whatever. So I feel like if you're going back to that kind of era, yeah, the subtitles would be a far superior way to experience the show. But what was interesting about Cyberpunk though, and I imagine a lot of more modern day animes though. To be fair, I probably don't watch as much as most people. Um,
Really? I mean,
but
I did watch Cyberpunk in both English and in Japanese, so I would highly recommend both. They're just
yeah.
phenomenal. So, anyways, go
But
on.
yeah, with this one though, from best as I can tell, the English dub and the Japanese dub were done at pretty much the same time. So it wasn't like, they were given different, they were done pretty much at the same time. And again, as far as I can tell, and if someone has more details, they can correct me if necessary. But it seems like they're all given the same kind of, in whether directions and stuff, that sort of stuff as well. Because watching it in the Japanese dub and then watching it in the English dub, a lot of, I mean, of course, it's different actors, different voices, but in terms of how they speak and the way they emphasize things and this and the other, it's all pretty much the same, so
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like in this case, it's less about one being better than the other and more about, which one is a personal preference. Maybe if you understand Japanese barely, you might prefer to watch it in that. If you understand English barely, you might prefer to watch it in that, and or either, so on and so forth. But I do feel like the sub versus dub debate is at a point where it's not really a debate anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And I would say with a lot of the ones that I've seen on Netflix recently, I'm not just Netflix, but I know for that I've seen because I'm just on Netflix. They are just like amazing. And there are some shows where they aren't on Netflix or on Crunchyroll, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, the dubbing has gotten so good. And they match the lip flaps. The translation makes sense. It's not just like, oh, he's over there. And it's like,
Yeah.
I gotta go over there. And it's like, okay, wait, what context are you talking about? Because you forget about like localization. Because when someone's like, okay, I'm going out of the house, like you don't normally say that, to someone in like American culture, or I would say maybe UK culture, right? Of like, okay, I'm leaving the house. And in Japanese, you would say itterashai or itakimasu. And it's just like, okay, I'm headed out. Or it's like, okay, be safe. Like that's something that might have a hard time translating if they're not familiar with that. And I think localized people or localization teams have really caught on to making it understandable for people these days and age. And I think before there was like huge problems. So now, yeah, absolutely. Like dubs versus subs. I don't think it's a big debate, and I think it's really just about like, okay, did you enjoy the performance that they
Mm.
gave you? Did it excite you? Did they emote enough during their performance that you found it believable? And I think that's something that's come through with a lot of the newer dubs, that a lot of these voice actors are emoting like what the character should be feeling, and the voice actually matches what the character would look like. Like you don't want to be looking like Bandit, having like a voice like comedically like, oh hello, yes, I love seeing the Queen of England,
Oh,
and
I
it's
don't
like, oh
know. I
no,
mean, it could work, I think. Jolly
oh
ho.
no.
It could
I mean,
work.
okay, it could only work if you're like a merchant at this point. Because like, if you want to sound like that, you could just be like, "Oh yes, I can give you a bottle of water." And it's like, I mean, this isn't water. It's kind of like a vitamin water, so it's not true. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is like they have matched the characters very well with the voices, so that it's not like high pitched Goku with like super strong guy. It's like you wouldn't
Yeah.
put Superman at like a little girl voice. And that's something that they've actually done really well with lately. So
Yeah, no, for
it's good.
sure. For sure. And they did actually have, I don't know all the names of the voice actors, but I know they got the guy who did the voice of Faraday. Oh, he's like everything right now. Oh, I've forgotten his name. Gustavo. He was Gustavo Fring in the in Breaking Bad. Oh man,
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
and he was in the other that game, Far Cry 6.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was in the
yeah.
Mandalorian. Like
His,
dude's just everywhere right now.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes, yeah, Giancarlo
It's
Esposito's.
po-
Um,
I think, yeah.
so yeah, they got some good. They don't just get some random people off the street, you know.
Oh my God, he was born in Denmark.
Okay, so he's one of
That's
he's
so random. Full circle. Look at that. And he's American, just like my son.
American
My
born in
son's gonna
Denmark.
be the next him.
Hey, it could happen, right? It could happen.
We'll
Um,
see.
but yeah, and I think you're right about the sort of localization as well. Because look, it's not just about translating word for word, because they can have different connotations from one country to another, and also the length in which one sentence is spoken versus the length in which another sentence is spoken when translated might be off. And you might see that in the old kung fu movies where they translate stuff, and they be speaking with their lips aren't moving, that sort of thing.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorites now.
they, they,
Like
they,
all
they're,
kung
they're
fu
just
movies
cheesy, aren't
dubbed
they?
poorly is like a treat at this point.
But yeah, that being said, though, I feel although with animation, yeah, the dubs and the subs have definitely come a long way. I do feel like with movies, though, like even though dubbing has come a long way in movies as well, I personally would, I can't. I mean, well, let me not say I can't. That's not true. Um, I very rarely opt for dubbing in movies because like it's there's so many nuances in when you're watching a person versus watching an animation. Um, that when you dub over, even if it's the same actors that are dubbing over it, and they've done the localization, they've done blah blah blah. Just the fact that the words they're saying don't match with the lip movements, like you always notice it. So I feel like in movies, it's even though it's a lot better now in movies
Oh
than
yeah.
it was, 20, 30, 40 years ago, whatever. Even still, it's not, it's never going to be that point where you can watch a dubbed movie and not know that it's dubbed because you're always going to pick up on those tiny kind of movements and nuances that you don't even know that you're picking up on. But for animation, yeah, I feel like it's either or at this point.
Yeah. I think it's really strange too because like when you think back on like bad dubbing, was it that bad that you can't play it or watch it on your TVs or anything like that? And then you just think about it. It's like, no, it was still enjoyable. But I think a lot of people would knock a film and say it's not good because of like the dubbing. And it's like, well, you wanted it to come here and you didn't want to read subtitles. So like you got to pick your poison.
Yeah.
And it has gotten better. So but
Uh,
I think it's kind of funny in certain instances. I personally would love to become like a voice artist and be
It'd
able
be
to like
cool, I think, actually.
that'd be fun. We could try that someday. Oh my gosh. We could take like a scene from a random anime and try to like create a
Hey,
create a
that's a
like
good.
a
I'm up
scene.
for that.
That'd be fine. I mean, just a few more months, then I got a nanny.
All right,
He's a little
cool.
too young right now.
We'll
It,
earmark it
it
for a few months.
Yes. And then watch out for it next year. We'll have a full season.
Indeed.
I'm just kidding. We'll see.
Let's talk about some of the characters now.
Did you
And
have a favorite?
do I have a favorite? I liked Lucy a lot, actually. She was really cool. But if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably go with Rebecca.
Yes! Yes! Best girl Rebecca.
Rebecca
She's my
was
favorite.
interesting. She's by far not even one of the main characters. But I think her small but is very impactful, and just I feel like I just like that she was very kind of she knows who she is. She just as loud with it. She was unapologetically herself, like at all times, um, and she very clearly just cared about David and the crew and things like that. So yeah, I'll go with Rebecca as a favorite. She was a really cool character. But I guess Rebecca was your favorite as well then.
Oh yes. Rebecca was my favorite character. When she got introduced, I was like, she's tiny. And she's like, okay, I'm intercepting this. Like, I'm gonna help you guys out with this part. And it's like so funny. And then I think she, to me, was like the most realistic human kind of character. But it's kind of like weird to say that because she's got green skin and she like has her upgrades and then like crazy tattoos, right? But it's like I could really see her being like a real person, like in New York or something, or like the place that they lived at. I totally forgot what it
Night
is, but
City.
it's just like, yeah, she's got a brother. She finds him annoying. She wants people to get out of her face, and she's like, I'm gonna get my job done. And then it's just like, oh yeah, I'm loudmouthed, and I can really see like that's me and her. Or like, oh no, I'm supposed to do this and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, get the fuck out of here. Like, I really like her because I think she's like the most realistic person I could see like in New York or Los Angeles if it's in the future. That
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah. No, I think she'll probably fit very well in a city like that. I think when they introduced her, or near, I don't think it was when they introduced her. David goes to her house and she's got a gun in his face or something, and I feel like
Oh
she
yeah.
still was that maybe a little bit later. I can't remember right now, but yeah, there was definitely a scene where David goes to her house and she's got a gun in his face, and it's like, yeah, okay, cool.
No, I think that was the same episode that they introduced her. Because he's like, oh, do you have a new job? Do you have another job? Like, I need something to do. Because, you know, he's not in school and they're just like giving him random jobs to do for the team. So he became a delivery boy.
What was your thoughts on the main character then, David?
David, I could say he was just this kid that was just going through the motions of like, okay, this is what my mom wants me to do, but I don't want
Mm,
to do it. And I don't know what I want to do. And he didn't really have any aspirations. And I'm like, I think this is a lot of people in life.
yeah, yeah,
And it's kind of disappointing because like a lot of people are like, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm like, yeah, that's why college is there. And then you become like so in debt with college because you're an American. So I find him like in so many people. And at the end of the day, like he's like all coked up on cybernetic psychosis stuff. And it's kind of disappointing. And it's kind of like he didn't live his life for him per se, or he didn't get to do the things he wanted, even though it looked like he did. Really, idealistically, I think he was more depressed than what showed forth.
yeah.
I got conveyed that. Do I like him as a character? He's meh because he's not standoutish. It's like, okay, I'm just this kid and I got this super cyber thing in me. And then this girl that's kind of hot, you know, she talks about this dream of going to the moon. And it's like, what do you want? And he's like, I don't know. It's still like this meh. And that's how I feel about him. It's just like, you don't really give me much to work with other than now I'm a badass. That's okay. But you don't develop more layers. And that's it.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think David kind of represents, yeah, I think a lot of people in society where, we don't always think about what we actually want to do, and we just kind of go along with, whether it's what our parents are telling us or whether it's what our social groups are telling us. And David kind of found himself in that position where his mum really wanted him to be this, Arizaka corpo type person. And it wasn't really what he wanted, but at the same time, he didn't know what he wanted. So when his mother died, and he kind of felt like he had to continue that dream in her memory, but he was never really living for himself, and I guess at some point he kind of convinces himself that this new life with the
The Edgerunners.
yeah, the Edgerunners, was what he wanted, and perhaps at some level it was, but ultimately it was never really about him. It was more that he only kind of got into it because he was trying to, he got bullied. So he put on
Right.
that suit. He was
And
going
like
to sell it initially.
right. And like he got with them because that was a quick way for him to make money. And then he looked up to Maine, because like he didn't have a father figure, or so we think.
Yeah,
But he looked up to him and he's like, I'm here to help protect you. And then he's like, you got to shoot this gun. And he's like, I don't think I could do that. And he hesitated. And it's like, that's where you could see like he's still a kid, not knowing what he wants to do. He can't pull the trigger. He can't do this, or he can't even save this. And it's like, okay. Yeah, like I said earlier, like this is kind of like a coming of age story, but he doesn't get to that age point of like, this is what I want to do, or like, this is the thing I dream of.
mm.
And he mainly just does it for Lucy, but Lucy's like, I know I need to do this, but I need the money to be able to do this, and I don't have the money for it. So, and she has to keep low. So it's not like she can just be like, oh, look at me, surface out of nowhere. I'm going to get this job. Not a good idea.
Yeah, Lucy, I think, has probably one of the best lines, and perhaps even one of the most memorable lines in the whole series, where she tells him, "You need to find your own dream," or I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but it's something like, "You need to find your dream," you know. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he did, but he never really did in the end. But he just kind of went through, and by the end of it, he was addicted to getting chrome implants. He was addicted to the power and the strength and the position that it put him in, because whether it's from beating up bullies or being able to handle this, or from Maine and the influence that Maine had on him and everything that came with it, and of course trying to help Lucy out as well. And in the end, it killed him. Well, not directly, but
Right.
it's all what
Yeah.
led to his early death.
Yeah. And I think that's like interesting too, because like Lucy, I think is an interesting character. Did they execute her well? I'm going to say meh as well, because like she's cool, her design's cool. Like her first episode kind of thing where she like kicks him out and like takes him around, um and he gets introduced to the Edgerunners. I'm like, that's probably the best thing that we got. And then we find her backstory of her being like, oh yeah, I'm a super hacker kind of person. It's like, okay, that just explains you. And then now you're just like this sulking depressed woman that's naked all the time. Like, gratuitous nudity doesn't mean that you're a better character. And it's like, I'm not saying give like cover up your tits. I don't really care. I have mine. But uh if your only dream is to go to the moon and hide, like, why can't you like steal more money faster? Why? I think it's like such a lackluster way for this character to be. She's cool, yeah, absolutely, but you know, it's that fine line of like, do you save your money? Do you know what you're doing? You're smoking all the time. Do you eat? Like, where do you spend your money? Are you hiding it away? Do you not have a way to pay for a ticket to the moon? Like, I don't know. It's There's just so many questions about her dream. Is like, is that really your dream to make that a reality, or do you just want to keep it at a distance? You know?
I think, to be fair, there are people like that, in the sense that they have this thing that they want to do, and even though there's a way they can do it, they never really do it. And perhaps it's like there's a fear involved. Like, there's a quote that I heard years ago where he says something like, "The greatest fear we have is not the fear that we'll fail, but the fear that we'll succeed." And I
Oh,
think that that's something that can hold people back. That even though there is this path that you could do this, you could do that, you could do this. Sometimes the comfort of having a dream, even though you're not actually working towards it, just having the dream, um, it kind of keeps you, somewhat stagnant, because like the fear that you might actually achieve it is great. And to be fair, they don't delve into that in the show, but perhaps that's something that is within their character.
it's possible because my husband tells me this a lot. Like, people are like their biggest enemy is themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's like really big. But I don't feel like that's for her though. And one thing that she did say is like she feels like she's hiding, and like this is a perfect spot to hide. And it's like, but what would they do if they got you? And I think it's kind of difficult because we don't know exactly what Arasaka would do if you live on the moon. Because you're potentially in a different jurisdiction. So you don't know. You don't know. We don't know.
I have a question I just thought of, actually. Bit of a naughty
Mhm.
question, actually.
Okay. We're
um,
ready for naughty. Here we go.
so you mentioned about Lucy being naked a lot. Is it still naked if her body is cybernetic?
Well, here's the thing. Her entire body is not cybernetic. She's got the plug-in to wire directly into her brain, like the Matrix, right? And then they probably had it. I don't. So we don't know how much of her is cybernetic. That's the thing, because it's like, would you get cybernetic nipples? It's possible. It's the future, but it would, to me, I think it would still be cybernetic. It would still be naked. Yeah, it's still cybernetic. It would still be naked because the act of putting on clothes means that you're covered. But
Okay, yeah,
if you're
yeah.
not wearing clothes, then you're naked. So it's like my dog's naked. He's not wearing his collar. My dog's naked. He's not wearing a neckerchief. Like he's naked. Even though
Oh,
he's got fur in the truest sense, he's still naked.
okay. Now I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes sense. Um, but then I guess it kind of leads into what we were saying about earlier. Is like, how much of yourself can you change and still be human? I think we said that earlier. I think we said
Yes,
that
we
earlier.
did.
We did. Yeah, cool.
Kind of, because I asked you what would you get done, and you're like, I'd have like an extra hand to heat things up.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, because I guess at that point, like for example, if you took a robot, the complete robot, you wouldn't say the
Yes,
robot is naked. It's just a robot, right?
but it
Um,
is naked.
can a robot be naked if it's a robot?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so like the way that that works is,
But when I say robot, I mean like not necessarily like a human robot. Like a robot that you could,
yeah,
like a
like
toy.
maybe it's just like an arm that puts things away,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this kind of robot, right? Yeah, absolutely. It could definitely be naked. So the way that that works in my mind is kind of like, does it have the wires exposed or does it have a shell covering the wires? And if it doesn't have like a kind of casing to contain all the wires, it's naked. But if it has like a shell with like logo printed on it with stickers and stuff, then it's clothed.
Okay. So if you
Like,
had a robot
like
and the wires were covered in a thing that made it look like a human, but that looking like it's still a robot, but it looks like a human, then but since the wires are covered, it's not naked.
no, it's not naked.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like at that point, you had to think about its existentialism. Like, we're not necessarily naked because our skin, like our skin is our biggest organ. Our skin's our biggest organ. So in that sense, we're naked. But when we cover our organ, we're clothed, so we're not naked. Versus a robot, if you have all of the wires exposed, those are the things that make it move and like it's housed right in like its frame. But you need a case for that frame, kind of like a PC. Like then it's not naked. So like if
Okay.
something like if it's exposed, kind of thing.
I think I see it. Okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I mean, yeah, it could be one of the questions that gets talked about in the future when they start designing robots that look human and act human and all this AI stuff that's happening right now. So maybe that's something that has to be talked about at some point. Like, you know, if you had a very human looking robot, you know, how much of that is nudity? How much of that is, I don't know, moral, whatever, like,
Like against people's morals, like
yeah.
attacking them. Like I guess in that sense, like here, let me ask you this: like when you first heard about like these hardcore sex dolls that have like special abilities to it, quote unquote, would you, if they had no clothes on, but they had like their human skin,
Yeah.
like silicone skin on, would they be naked? Because they're sex dolls, remind you. So like they're like the most expensive kind of like robotic thing a person can kind of own next to a car, I
Yeah.
guess. But is
Yeah.
it naked
Yeah.
without human clothes?
I mean, I guess the way I would think about it is, I guess, kind of similar to yours as well, is that because it's not human, I mean, maybe it's not quite the same way, but I kind of
But
think of it this
the
way
sex
because
dolls
it's,
are human. They're meant to imitate human.
I mean, yeah, they're imitated humans, but they are not humans themselves, right? Because they are
Right.
fundamentally dolls. So they're made to look like a human. They're made to imitate human, and depending on how advanced the software and whatever it is, it's made to even act like a human to some degree. But
Right.
ultimately, it's an object.
Right.
Fundamentally, it's an object, and as an object, yeah, I personally would not describe an object as being naked. I would describe it as made to look like the naked human form, but as
Okay.
an object, it's that, you know. But
Hmm.
yeah, that line I think gets blurred when if you're potentially creating objects that look, feel, and act like humans. Like that TV show Humans. I don't know if it was. I mean, TV show was actually called Humans. Uh,
Okay.
it ran
I
for like
haven't
about
seen it.
3 seasons, I think, 3 or 4 seasons. It was like maybe a few years back. Anyway, But yeah, it was
Mhm.
like doesn't. But anyway, they had like they had like the whole thing about robots looking like humans, and some of them were so advanced um they could literally mimic and act and integrate into human society and nobody would know, you know. So but at the end of the day, they are robots and they still need to do robot things. So it's like where there's that line, at what how do, I guess the question then becomes, how do you define humanity, and how do you define being sentient, how do you define intelligence and feelings and emotion, and
Yeah.
at what point do you say, okay, this is the definition of that, and anything that displays these things, whether artificial or not, is that thing, or is it the fact that it's artificial, it can never be that thing, no matter how close it gets,
Right.
you know because on
Yeah.
one hand, I think I'd always lean to the side of, if it's artificial, it's not real, no matter how close it is. But that's me in 2023 saying it. You know, what about in 20, 30, 40 years from now, when that reality, that idea becomes, or potentially becomes reality? Am I saying the same thing?
I mean, I'll take it when it happens, but until it happens, it's not like a robot's a robot. I'm sorry, you're
Yeah,
not human. Like until like if a robot gets born from someone's vagina or some kind of uterus, like human organic uterus, it's not human. Like
yeah, no,
that's one of my things.
and that's what I
After giving birth to a human, you have to come from
said.
a vagina, a canal, going through, and that's where I'm like, look, it's a robot. I'm sorry. If you got assembled together in a Ford like AI robot line, you are not human. Like you can have human like qualities. You can act human, but you are not a physical organic being. It's not the same. No.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how I'd look at it. Although I do think we're potentially going into some interesting areas, but yeah, we'll save that for
Yeah.
for
Another
then.
topic. Another
Um,
thing.
but I guess in a similar kind of vein, the character Adam Smasher, um, he was supposed to be somebody who went full Borg, so he replaced all his body parts with cybernetics.
Right.
Um, and I guess that's kind of as far as the show goes. Like, again, it's not something that kind of gets brought up, but at some point, it's like, if you replace every single one of your body parts with cybernetics, are you still you? Like, you've the you is your soul still there? You
I think
know,
so.
is your
Yeah.
is your essence still there? And if so,
So
how where is it? You know?
so I think that's the existential crisis of like, am I still me, right?
Yeah.
And a game that really focuses on that is Near Automata.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played it. I know about it. There's actually a droid that like, yeah, there's a whole part. Anyways, um, you yourself are not the same person from birth, and it's just like your soul's still there though, and it's just like we can already answer we're not the same person we were 10 years ago, and if you
Right.
are, that's a little strange, but but the truth is we still don't have those same skin cells, the same liver cells from 10 years ago.
Right.
So they are being replaced, they're constantly being replaced, but we're still who we think we are, but we've advanced slowly, periodically, not immediately like, oh, let me cut off my arm, okay, it's now part of me. But yeah, I definitely think like there is a soul. I would definitely say it's our mind and how we process things. I wouldn't say it's the heart because that's a muscle. Like it doesn't teach us feelings. Like we could feel things, but that's from our mind and the hormones that gets released. And I think that's very different. So I would say souls are from the head because it's like if you're not breathing, you can't help that because your brain's not working. Okay, like, it's not just your lungs because your brain tells your lungs, "Hey, breathe, otherwise you're dead." So there's
Yeah.
that.
The soul. I mean, it's a well. I guess the soul is somewhere, maybe everywhere. You know.
Our
Well,
neurons,
but yeah. Um. All right. I think was another character I wanted to. Okay. Yeah. Maine. Actually, let's talk a little bit about Maine. Uh. Before we
before we
No
close out
dramas, but
here.
yeah, we got sidetracked a few times, didn't we? But it's all good.
A
It's all
small
good.
mistake. It happens.
It's the
Like
sign
we
of a
can do a
good
part
conversation, I
two if you
think.
want.
You know, it's the sign of a good
Anyway, so
conversation. We can kind
Maine.
of drift off into those like tangents and then cool. But yeah, so Main, the character that David meets, he's kind of, I guess he is called that pretty much the leader of the Edgerunners. And
Yes.
like you said before, he's become somewhat of a father figure to David. Um,
Mhm.
and then he dies towards the end as well. I think in on episodes like 6 or 7 or something like that.
Right.
What was your thoughts on Main and how he was developed?
I think he was definitely a staple character in triggered style shows. Meaning he is a very prominent person, he's a very important person, he helps lead the story, and then they have to kill him. Like this is one of those
Mm,
things that just happens with these series. I personally liked him. I think that he had like a lot of spunk, he had a lot of charisma, and you need that to be a leader, in my opinion. He's not like one of those tragic kind of like, people are following me, I suck. He's like, nah, kid, stick with me and you'll be okay. And someday you'll be as strong as me. But honestly, I'm just kind of like, okay, as long as you're not like that kind of guy. But then we see him succumb to something, and it kind of draws him from being that hero limelight, and it gives David a chance to grow. So it drags it back to where it should be. So I personally liked him. He's my favorite. No.
but yeah, Rebecca, of course.
Oh, Becca. Becca, best girl.
Becca. But yeah, no, I thought Main was done pretty well. From how they introduced him, when he comes in, he's angry because of he took his son Devastan Cybernetic, and then from the relationship they developed, and the kind of the father son almost or leader follower type relationship. But yeah, he's very much like this guy, like you say, kind of stick with me, show him the ropes and that kind of thing. He's giving him advice, and that scene where he's talking to him and he's like, "There's something different about you," and he recognizes when he got a little something something the night before, you know.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there was the kind of things about him that he was good at reading people, which is an interesting thing in a world where everybody's cybernetic or having cybernetic. I think David at that point, to be fair, didn't have much, but yeah, he's someone that's clearly good at reading people. But at the same time, he's kind of a small fish in this whole world as well. So David kind of sees him as the big dog, but he's ultimately a
Right.
small fish because you've got people like Faraday and you've got people like the whole kind of uh, uh, was it Max Tech, like the police, what are they called?
Yeah.
Arasaka and Militech, and all those guys that really pulling all the strings. So like it's kind of interesting, I think, especially in a kind of father son dynamic where when you're a kid and you think you look at your parents and your parents like your whole world, and your dad's the strongest man in the world and your dad's the smartest man in the world, you know.
Right.
But as you get older, you realize there is a whole other world, and it was almost like that
Mhm.
in a sense where David kind of sees him as this big kind of figure
Like
and really cool guy, but then realizing that there is more to the whole Edge Runner, cybernetic, cyberpunk whole thing, and as it kind of spreads out, kind of like an RPG, I suppose.
I guess
But
so.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm like just reeling back like quickly. Yeah, it's kind of like we didn't see David with a father figure, and
mm,
then he finally got that with Maine, and that's why he wanted to protect him,
yeah,
but he couldn't. So
yeah. All right. I think we've covered most things. Or I don't know. Was there anything else you did you want to bring up about Cyberpunk Edge Runners?
um, not currently off the top of my head. I mean, I hit the points that I wanted to ask you and talk about. Like, we talked a lot about stuff, but that's basically it. I mean, unless they can make giving birth easier, nah.
You think there'll be a Cyberpunk Edge Runners season two?
It won't be a season two. It would be a different area. So because that story's already closed,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would imagine that they had something else, a different storyline to tell. But I wouldn't say that it's going to be the same. It is possible, but I won't hold my breath.
yeah. I think if they do a season two or any kind of follow up, or well, I guess it wouldn't really be a follow up. No, you
Mhm.
could do a follow up. You could, but
I think it would be very bleak and
yeah,
boring.
it yeah, it. I mean, who would you? I
I
mean,
mean,
guess
it's just Lucy
it's
on the
Lucy.
moon
Yeah,
because everyone
yeah.
everyone
But
else is dead.
he's dead, so yes, it's Lucy, and even Faraday's dead,
Oh,
and I
I
guess you
gotta
could
get
follow
going.
Lucy on the moon. But yeah, I think if they
Yeah,
do any kind of season two type thing, yeah, I think you're right.
yeah.
It probably would be a completely different story. Maybe set in a different part of the city. Complete different characters.
Mhm.
Maybe some crossover, but yeah, um, yeah, that'd be my guess as well. Anyway, that because like you say, it's a pretty much a complete story. From the first episode to the last episode, like most of the
Right.
characters are dead by the end of it. And Lucy, it's a cool character, but I don't know how much can you do with Lucy. I guess she could go back to edge running or something. I don't know. She's
Yeah.
cute.
Anyway,
So.
yeah, because like Trigger doesn't really have a lot of series that I know of that has a lot of like second seasons. One of the only ones that I know of that they have, I would say, is Little Witch Academia. I think Gurren Lagann is 2 seasons, but I can't say that there's more than that. Because one of the ones that I really like of them is Kill a Kill, but that's like a straight 24 arc. But like with this kind of show, I am working with the developer of the video game, and it helped push the video game over because of the anime. Um, I think they would just want people to get back into that cyber world or Cyberpunk Edgerunner world by playing the game. So
Yeah.
that would be where season 2 would be, unless like let's see 5 years down the road they actually explore the idea of an anime version of the game that you play, because like some of the characters look pretty cool, like Mr. Reeves.
Yeah. The way they
Oh,
introduce him in the game is pretty cool though, but I won't spoil it. But they do
I
introduce him
haven't
in a cool way.
played it. Dang
That's all I'll
it!
say for now. They introduce him in a really cool way, but I won't. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. Haven't seen it. Would like to play a game. Like we got a city to burn. Just that line is so powerful. I'm like, tattoo it on me. I'm good.
Yeah. But
But
the
yeah.
the series is actually set before the game.
Mm.
So the game takes place, alters, but yeah, it's pretty much all different characters. The only character that I've come across that is in both the series and the game is Adam Smasher. Um,
Oh, interesting.
Actually, no, that's not true. Wakako as well, but Makako's one of the fixers. Um,
Who's Wakako?
she's one of the job givers. Like she helps. She gives David one of the jobs a job. I think in some of the last few episodes. Um,
Oh, that's the one where you gotta save the kid, right?
yeah.
Okay, I remember that because they get the little newbie guy and he's like, "Wow, I look up to you. You're so cool." So we get like this inverse version of like David in Maine. And then this guy's like, "Oh yeah, let me go on a job with you." And then he's like, okay, if you can handle it, newbie." And it's like, "Nope, he dies."
Yeah,
And then they save like the human trafficking ring
yeah.
kind of thing.
I mean, those are only two I could think of that I've come across. There might be more. Maybe I'm not that far into the game, so we'll see.
I was about to
Um,
ask, is Arasaka in the game? And I was like, that
oh, the
seems really
corporation, yeah,
oh, okay, so that is.
yeah. Like I mean, it's because it's all the kind of same. Well, like it's all Night City, right? So yeah, Arasaka I
Okay.
mentioned, or Sucker as they call him for short.
Mm,
Max Tac. I think Militech gets
okay.
mentioned as well.
I think that's
Um,
good that they have that.
so yeah, so a lot of the same, all the same sort of corporations and entities and things like that are there, but characters, yeah, the two that I can think of right now is just Wakako and Adam Smasher. But both of them, at least so far, are pretty minor characters. So yeah,
I think that's nice that they have minor characters as still in the anime, so it kind of has like a small tie-in,
yeah,
but it's not like a giant thing of like, oh look, here's Keanu Reeves back inside, and it's like, oh, that's just like one tip of the iceberg. So I think they could really go in and have like a brand new series, like I said, with just a new cast of like,
yeah,
wait, what if they're not called Edgerunners, but what about like the fixer kind of version, or like showing how someone becomes a Mac Tac, you know? like that could really be the next season if they decide to go with it, because it's like there's a lot of loopholes or people that sees like a lot of things, and I think it would be really interesting if they had like an episode basis of like being a max tac mercenary, being like, okay, we have to go in here at Arasaka to do this and save like our premium client XYZ kind of thing. So it's kind of like I would watch the shit out of it, like a per episode
cool
basis
show,
of like, yeah, right, like hire me, like I'm good. I have great ideas. No one likes to listen, but it's fine.
Oh yeah, you had
But I think that would be
Edgerunners.
really cool, you know? And it's like you could really play up like different instances too, because like what if there's like squad B or squad A, and like, oh, C squad got demolitioned by like blah 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 blah. Oh, another cyber psycho like process. Like there's so much that you can go into it as opposed to just like one storyline too. Or you can make it a multiple storyline in multiple episodes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I would like that to happen.
Yeah, and I feel that could work. I mean, because like I say with Edgerunners is a complete story, and once you've done say Cyberpunk Edgerunners, if you could do another one, let's say Cyberpunk Fixes, Cyberpunk Maxax, Cyberpunk Arasaka, Cyberpunk Meditech, Cyberpunk, I don't know, Wakako,
Yeah.
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, like what was the
yeah.
doctor? What was the doctor called?
Oh, I think it's called him Doc actually.
Just the doc? I thought he had
probably
a
does have a
special
name, but I think they just call him Doc.
like Skelly Doc or something. It's
Yeah.
like or Witch Doctor. I don't know. I think they could come up with something really cool if they wanted to. Really deep dive into like just these different sections and tell different stories, kind of like Love, Death, and Robots. How like each individual episode is something different. That'd be cool.
That could. I haven't seen Love, Death, and Robots, but okay, cool.
What? Okay, close it up. I haven't seen Love, Death, and Robots. There's 2 seasons. Working on the 3rd. It's so
is it worth checking out? I'm guessing. I guess it gets your approval by the sounds of it.
Like, oh my goodness, I'm wacky, bad. Like, it's not even bad. Okay. It parallels with Cyberpunk in the sense of like there are episodes where it's like complete robot takeover, or there's episodes being stuck in space. Like, there's episodes where it's like, what if you stumble across this situation? It's so unique in the different stories that it tells you. So it's like, if you like the idea of like futuristic kind of things like Cyberpunk, and that kind of like Cyberpunk, some episodes dive deep into that, especially the extra existentialism of like, am I still human if I like cut my hand off or something? I'm not saying all episodes are doing that, but like there are some. The first episode really is super good. I love it. Highly recommend both Cyberpunk and Love, Death, and Robots. The second season, last one, Jabaro, I think was up for an Emmy nomination. Can't remember. Something. It got something. Is it good? I like it. I love it. I love both of these shows. Got to watch it. You have to watch it so we can talk about it.
Maybe that's the next one we talk about. Love, Death, and Robots. I think that's on Netflix. I think, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And those are Netflix originals as well. So, like that one
so they might
has different styles.
Hopefully, it means they don't take it down anytime soon.
Oh my god, I hate the fact that Netflix is like, okay, we gotta take this down. I'm like, oh, there goes.
Bro, like it's
It's so dumb. Like they're taking off trolls. I'm like, but where am I going to get my happy glitter fetish now? Just happy glitter sunshine. It's all gone. What am I gonna do? I'm green.
Okay, I'm looking at it now. These episodes are quite short. They're like 11 minutes, 20 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, okay, cool. And was it 3 volumes?
Is it 3 volumes?
Yeah, there's volume 1 has 18 episodes. That's the longest one, and then volume 2 and 3 are 8 and 9 episodes.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's cool. I don't remember season 2, so I guess when you watch it, I'll be rewatching it because I just remember the first one, and it's so good.
Right, cool.
I'm not saying every one of them's a winner, but you're gonna have your favorites, and you'll know which one's your favorite.
Seth Green's. Oh, Rosario Dawson's in this. Oh, that's pretty cool.
So the thing about this is that it's different art styles, different directors. Some get asked to come back to direct another piece in a different way. Um, it's so stylized. It's so cool, and I like appreciate a lot of it. It's just so nice to be able to give basically snippets into like people's creative arts and different kind of like artistic ways of telling a story.
Okay, yeah, I'll just look some of the credits now, and yeah, there's loads of different names listed here. So, but yeah, definitely quite a few names I recognize actually. Got Michael B. Jordan's in, I guess, some of them, and Topher Grace, and all right, yeah, I might have to check this out. I might have to
I
check
don't
this out.
recommend bad
I might
shows.
have to
I
check this one
recommend
out,
shows that are good.
All right, I have to give this one a little look see,
You're gonna just get the popcorn and sit in front of the telly.
Indeed.
And I mean, once you start it, you're probably not gonna stop until all of it's done. It's so good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what happened with me and Edgerunners because I rewatched it just for our podcast, and I was like, "Yep, can't stop. Good, yep,
Let's let it.
love it." All right, kind of like change my eyeballs and put them in. Actually, that would probably be my second thing, to have cybernetic eyes.
Well, yeah, I guess that means you could just like watch stuff and never get tired. Like your eyes won't get tired. I mean, like, cause you know, sometimes your eyes get tired, you start drooping off. And, like,
No, not even that. Because like right now, I can tell that my eyes, I have a problem seeing at a distance, or like old school screens give me problems. So like I'm talking about like the RBG like in outlet kind of screens. You know what I'm talking
oh
about?
yeah,
Not
yeah.
LCD screens.
I mean, you
So
could
I
probably
have a
get
problem.
filters though. So
Yeah, I just gotta
don't need to
like,
go that extreme. Just get a filter for your like glasses or something.
oh yeah. But or I could just wear glasses or put in contacts, and I'm just like, oh, this is stupid. If only my eyes just worked as properly as they used to. This is dumb.
Yeah, cybernetic
Or
implants. Wear glasses. Cybernetic implants.
no. Give me the implants. If it's gonna be after my heart implant, I'll get the eyes next, because then I can be like, I want pink eyes today. Not the sickness, but like, cute anime pink, like, I would
And
like that.
lasers. You can shoot lasers out your eyes.
Oh, I could have
That's also
laser.
useful.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool. So if I hate sewing, I could be like, and what? And so like, like a hair flip, and then I just like, so hair flip, and then like
Yeah.
as I flip, my laser will go like this and whip you too, and like cut off your ear.
Yeah, it's real quick with it as well. And no one even notices. Go about your day. Just go about your day.
Oh, exactly. They won't know. They'll just be like, oh, what a dramatic hair flip. Yes, hunty, and then it's like slap. And it's like there goes your nose. But that's what I'm saying. Like that, I would like that. And it's like, oh yeah, I need to get a new picture done. Well, okay, what color eyes I want? Blue, green, hazel. Maybe I want purple eyes.
Black.
No, that's boring. My eyes are already black.
Because everyone would think you're a demon, and that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, are you talking about like Sclera black?
Yeah, just like
we could do
all
that
the way around.
Yeah. Those
scary.
are Scleras. That's on my YouTube channel. Trying Scleras on for the first time.
Oh, check that out.
I've done it. It's not fun. It is definitely one of the scariest things I've done to my body, and I'm like, that's
What, they're like contacts?
Yeah, they're like half circle contacts you put in your eye. They're insane. Hold on, let me see. Can I send you a picture?
What, they're like really big contacts or something, or?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, half circle, so they're not fully covering it.
No, they cover the whites. Like all my white gets covered.
Oh, I see. So it goes right. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. That stuff is not. It's not easy. Hold on a second. Let me see. Do photos. I can post it to you really quickly. Because I know where it be. It was so crazy getting putting them in. Okay, here we are. Like copy image. I'm gonna paste it to you. Nope, I guess not. So this is like the look I had. There you go. I put it in our chat.
Yeah.
But you can just tell that there's like something different with the eyes. Then I'll get this one too, so you can see. Okay, so it's there. I've done it. It's crazy. It is not easy putting that shit in, because You had to literally put half at the bottom, and then you had to shove the other half underneath the top part of your eyelid, or vice versa. And if you have small eyes, it's not going to work. It's just not easy. I went for like an alien look.
I'm gonna have to open this one up. Players having a little food troubles now. No bother. I'll check it. I'll check in a bit.
It's
Ooh,
crazy.
I'll put that back. Let me put that back. But yeah,
Yeah.
Celeste, thank
Mm-hmm.
you for taking time out of your day to chat with me about Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
And
You've
other
been
things.
awesome. I appreciate you very much for doing this, for being the awesome person that you are, for saying, hey, yes, for what, even for suggesting it, first of all, because you suggested that we talk about it. So, yeah, thank you for suggesting it. It was a
I'm
great
glad you
show.
like the
And then
show.
thank you for, making time to come chat with me about the show. And yeah, hopefully by the time I get through, was it Love, Death, and Robots, we could talk about that as well.
Yes, absolutely love Death and Robots. It's so good. You're gonna love it. And I'm not saying that lightly, because I know that there's something for everyone in Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah, we definitely talk about like maybe favorite episodes and stuff like that. Um, and of course, worst episodes too, because you got to do that too.
Oh yeah, you gotta do like a rating list, like a tier list when we get there.
Speaking of suggestions, anybody watching and or listen, if you have a suggestion of a show, movie, or game or whatever that you want us to chat about, drop it in the comments or hit us up on the Twitter at uncivilisedArt, and we can look into that. But that is going to be all for this episode. So, guys, thank you for watching and or listening, and until whenever, if ever. Peace.